Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today, guys, we are going to talk about a lady named Omaima Nelson. Okay, and her crime is a husband for Thanksgiving dinner. Now, before I get into her murderous, nasty, slaveful crime, I don't know if slaveful is a word, but anyway, we're gonna go with it. Let's get some backstory on Homegirl. Let's see what was in her mind when she did all of this and how she did it. It's details. It's details. So let's get some backstory on her, and then I'll get into the juiciness. Okay, so Omaima Aree Nelson, she was born in Egypt in 1968. Her childhood was not a happy childhood by any means. Okay, she has been a repeated victim of sexual abuse. She has been molested, beaten, forced to undergo circumcision. Eventually, she had left the country. So in 1986, she went to the United States. When she first arrived there, she traded on her good looks for rent and cars from a steady line of older men, okay, that she had relationships with. She got into the habit of luring partners into her clutches with sex games that became increasingly violent over the years. So it seems to me when she left Egypt and she came over here and she was using her good looks and everything to get what she wanted, she had a plan then, okay? And sex games, some men are into that kiki stuff, kicking them in the private area and, it's ringing their ears. Oh God, it's just a whole bunch of crazy stuff some of these men be into. But anyway, by 1991, she could almost be described as successful. She was a working nanny and a model. Okay, she was a nanny and a model. You go, girl. Things were going well. It was in October of that year she met Bill Nelson in a bar playing pool. Wicked things happen in October. That's why I love October so much. He was a 56-year-old pilot with a teenage daughter named Margaret. At the time, Omaima was 23 years old. Just a few days after meeting, the happy couple tied the knot and moved into the apartment. So let me get this right. She was 23, he was 56, and he had a teenage daughter. Lord, let's continue. So they tied the knot, moved into an apartment in Costa Mesa, California. Everything was going well. So far, so good. However, the honeymoon happiness did not last. Bill Nelson was a convicted drug smuggler. After they had visited his family in the Midwest, Omaima claimed that her husband had sexually assaulted and beaten her. The man she had fell in love with had undergone a drastic personality change. And you know what? Sometimes that can happen. You can meet somebody and they be one way, but as soon as they get you into their web and you marry them and all that kind of stuff, they change. So it's possible. After an argument, Nelson threw her kitten out of the car. He began demanding kinky sex from her, and when she refused, she claimed he beat and raped her. On one occasion, Omaima recalls her husband had screamed at her, "I paid for you. I'm getting what I paid for." What you mean you paid for her? By the time Thanksgiving came around, Omaima was like, I can't take this no more. Something has to be done. She couldn't take it anymore, or at least that's what she told the court system. Sister had enough. She was like, no, I'm done with this. This is not for me. It's not healthy. I'm not doing this. Okay. On the night in question, as she and her defense attorney claimed, Bill Nelson had tied her up to the bed and raped her. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, wasn't she doing kinky sex games to other men? Yes, she was. She did her little kinky sex games to other men. Okay? Now, sex games, I guess, the foreplay and doing the things they wanted her to do. Sex games, okay? When the ordeal was over, she came back at him and stabbed him repeatedly with a pair of scissors. So he tied her to a bed and raped her, right? So when that was over, I guess he untied her, whatever the case may be. She was so distraught that she got a pair of scissors and she started stabbing him over and over with a pair of scissors. But he was still alive. So she picked up a clothes iron and struck him with it until his heart stopped bleeding. Now, you got to be some kind of fed up to go through this, to do all of this. I mean, her mind was set. I'm going to kill this SOB, okay? I mean, she picked up an iron, struck him with it until his heart stopped bleeding. I mean, beating. I'm excited as well. Till his heart stopped beating. That was when she realized she had to get rid of the evidence. Okay, I done went stir crazy. I done killed this man. Now it's time to get rid of the evidence. It's time to throw him in the garbage, or maybe cook him. One of the two. She said she spent the 12 hours hacking in the remains of her husband to make them hacking up the remains of her husband to make them easier to dispose of. So not only did you kill him, you chopped him up as well. You chopped him up. Within this glamorous woman lurked a heart of darkness, and it's hard to not imagine her taking pleasure in what happened next. First, she severed Bill's head and cooked it. Okay? She cooked it. She fried his hands in cooking oil, and then she castrated her ex-husband. All part of this was the revenge. Okay? Now, the revenge didn't stop there. Next, she skinned his torso and lowered the body, wrapping up the parts with leftover turkey from Thanksgiving dinner in newspaper, throwing them into the trash. The head was placed in the freezer. The rest of the body went into the garbage disposal unit, which neighbors said it ran continuously for 2 days. Later, a bag containing Nelson's entrails was found in his red Corvette. Oh my gosh. Did y'all hear me? Or do I have to say it again? Let me go back to that part one more time. Let's take in how she broke this man down. Okay? How she broke him down, how she cut him up. Let's go back because we need to take that in. We need to think about that, okay? First, she severed his head. That means she cut that man's head off and she cooked it, okay? She fried his hands in cooking oil. And then she castrated him, okay? And the revenge kept going on because it didn't stop there. Next, she skinned his torso and lower body, wrapping these parts with leftover turkey from the Thanksgiving dinner in newspaper. So she wrapped up these parts with leftover turkey. Okay? Throwing them into the wow. Then she placed the head in the freezer. The rest of the body went into the garbage disposal unit. And the neighbor said it ran for 2 days. And then later, a bag containing Nelson's entrails was found in his red Corvette. Did you see what's happening here? Like, seriously. Then, the strangest thing of it all, the feast. Omaima dressed up like she was going out for a meal at an expensive restaurant, putting on a red hat, high-heeled shoes, and a red lipstick before cooking her husband's ribs in barbecue sauce. Omaima told her psychiatrist David J. Scheffner about she cooked the meal. I did his ribs just like a restaurant. It's so sweet. It's so delicious. I like mine tender. Nothing tastes as good as the man I married. It's the sauce that does it. Do I need to go back? Okay, let's go back to what she told her psychiatrist, okay? Let's go back. But first, before we go back, let's go back to how she got herself together for this meal, okay? She dressed up as if she was going out to a 10-star restaurant, honey. I know it's 5-star, but I'm going to say 10-star because she was dressed to the nines. Okay? She had her red hat on, cocked to the side, I'm imagining. High-heel shoes on, red lipstick. Okay? Before cooking her husband's rib in barbecue sauce. So she cooked her husband's ribs in barbecue sauce. She told her psychiatrist about how she cooked the meal. So that means she described to her psychiatrist how she prepared her husband, how she cooked that meal, how she cooked her husband, okay, for Thanksgiving dinner. I did his ribs just like in a restaurant. It's so sweet. It's so delicious. I like mine tender. Nothing tastes as good as the man I married. It's the sauce that does it. Let's take that in for a little bit. Because now she has left the building. Okay, she left the universe. Okay, she's talking to a psychiatrist. Homegirl is gone. So, her psychiatrist diagnosed her as a psychotic. And said that is... And said that in his 20 years, he had never heard of something so bizarre. Let me tell you something. That's more than bizarre, honey. That's more than bizarre. This should be a whole movie. Because I want to see details. This should be a whole movie. There should be a movie about this. Or at least a short story movie or something. It's something need to be going on here. Now, the cover up. After the meal, she went to 2 ex-boyfriends for help in removing her husband's teeth, one of the body parts that could be used for identification by the authorities. Okay, so we all know if you are unrecognizable, they can go by dental records, right? Okay. Then on December 1st, she visited a friend's house and asked for help in disposing of the remaining body parts. Her friend called the cops, and she was arrested the next day. Investigators found most of Bill's corpse stuffed into a garbage bag, but bits and pieces were still missing. Okay, the prosecutor described the scene. There were suitcases and plastic bags soaked with dark liquid from the body parts. In the fry cooker, there sat Mr. Nelson's hands, and when we opened the refrigerator, there was Mr. Nelson's head with stab wounds. So she just didn't cut his head off. She cut his head off and she stabbed it. She stabbed the head. The coroner found that the weight did not add up. Bill Nelson has been a substantial man weighing 230 pounds. Okay? So, at the trial, they're missing, he said, we're missing about 130 pounds of Bill. You know where he might have gone. Her explanation that she had been the victim of sexual assault by Bill Nelson did not cut much ice with the jury. Okay, deep bruises were present along Bill's ankles. There was some of the few body parts left sufficiently intact to provide useful evidence. There were also new photographs of her posing provocatively. These had been probably taken by her husband shortly before his death. Her body showed no signs of physical abuse. It turned out Bill Nelson was not Omaima's only victim, only her most gruesome victim. On 2 occasions previously, Omaima had tied up lovers during sex and later held them up at gunpoint and demanded money. At the time of the trial for her husband's murder, she was also on trial for another incident that happened in November of 1990. She had tied up her former boyfriend, Robert Hansen, and demanded money at gunpoint. Indeed, her relationship with Bill appeared to be following the usual pattern. She had planned to rob him and escape with his money, his credit cards, his car, as she had done with previous lovers. Yet this time, it ended in a far more horrifying manner. Whew, have mercy. Maybe they quarreled. They had quarreled over Bill's marital status at the time of his death. Nelson was still married to a Santa Barbara woman, despite the vows he had taken with Omaima. Had Omaima been overcome with jealousy during her trial, she told the hushed courtroom that she had freaked out and fallen into a trance while hacking up his body. So, he married Omaima Nelson. He married her, but he also had a wife in Santa Barbara. Did she find out and then she got jealous? Did he tell her and then she became jealous? We don't know. But she said she freaked out and fallen into a trance while hacking him up. Okay, the trial was short. It lasted only 6 days. Before she was found guilty of second-degree murder, it took its toll on the jury, who were forced to listen to the horrifying testimonies and examine gruesome photographs. Despite the horror of the offense, they could not find enough evidence to demonstrate that the murder was premeditated. She was sentenced to 28 years in prison. The strain of the trial and imprisonment left to self-neglect. A 5 foot tall with olive skin and skinny body, she had looked every inch the glamorous model. But in her first year of incarceration, she gained 40 pounds and no longer cared how she looked. Okay? Remarkably, at the state prison, her pattern of forming relationships with older men for financial gain did not change. A fellow in his 70s began visiting her, and they were married. It didn't quiet her down though. In prison, she fought other inmates, attacked prison staff, stole and hid contraband. Okay, most surprising for an ex-model perhaps is that she has been criticized for not being in compliance with grooming standards. So in 2011, it came as no surprise when she was denied parole. After all, her prosecutor wrote at her parole appeal in 2006, what she did and had been done, one of the most gruesome and notorious crimes ever committed in Orange County. Okay, so Miss Omaima Nelson, she don't have nothing on some of these male killers. I just told you the story, the background about her. Okay, let me know in the comment section how you like it. How do you feel about Miss Thing? Woo, boy. Do you think this was all premeditated? Do you think she was jealous that she found out about his wife Why would he marry her and he had a wife already instead of robber? So it seems as to me Bill has some stuff with him too. But do you think he tied her up, or it was vice versa? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.